everybody, welcome back to Level Uploading Fight Feelings Face Facts with yours truly, Shay. I am back home from Chicago. I came back in the last Monday. Well, not last Monday, this Monday that just passed. Um, a lot of quick traveling. I'm in surprisingly good spirits under the circumstances. Still missing my grandma, still, trying to wrap my head around the new norm. But I am so happy that she's not suffering anymore, and I'm so glad. And I'm excited that she gets a chance to be reunited with so much of her other loved ones, and including her boo. And so I'm in a good headspace today. I actually went out for a bit to help my friend. She has a nonprofit organization called Project Love Strong, and she is serving the unhoused in Nashville. And oh my God, such an amazing event! Like literally, I just love it because it. I've been to a couple of her other events, and it always is filled with so much genuine love. You know what I mean? Like it's not like I'm doing this just to do it. Like this is literally something that she's very, very passionate about, and it's something that her passion has, rubbed off on so many other people, and she's touching so many lives, giving people the things that they need. And right after Thanksgiving, right before the holidays, this is a tough time for a lot of people, and so it was just nice to be surrounded in that type of energy from the people who were being served and from the people who were serving. Everyone just had a really good, grateful disposition. She's doing amazing things, and I hope to have her on as a guest one day in the near future, so she can, give us a little bit more information about her baby. But okay, well, sliding into our episode for today, this is something that okay, so of course you guys know, but if you don't know, just I'm living in Nashville, and my family and everything that I have known prior to the 2 years I've been here is in Chicago. And with that comes my family. And I just recently went back to Chicago for my grandmother's funeral. My last grandparent. I'm just out here without no grandparents. Lord have mercy. But I know that my ancestors are watching over me, and I just gained a new one. But anyway, so with going back home, it can be a little trauma. It can bring some trauma, some old things, especially when you've kind of moved away. And with me moving away is kind of when I had started really, really diving into my healing journey and getting my spiritual life in order, my relationship with God. Like, you know, me being out here, you know, on my own when I originally started out here was like me and God's personal one-on-one time. Like me and him was locked in and still are. But so a lot of times with my going back home, it's very triggering for me because home doesn't know the healed version of me. Home doesn't really know the healing version of me. It doesn't really know who I am now. It only knows who I was before I left and who they remember me to be. And I sometimes it can be hard when you go back because I have found myself feeling that trigger of the old ways, old habits, good and bad. I mean, not everything is bad. Trust me, I'm not saying it like that, but there's just an aura and a feeling about being somewhere that you know has so much to do with your formative years, has so many good memories, so many pleasant things that have been added to my journey. But it's also given me a lot of trauma, a lot of you know not so good experiences, and they're all wrapped into one. And then you have to put on top of it the thought of having grief and mourning on top of all of those different feelings. So this is something that I have been noticing in my level of journey, and just in my journey in general, is that it's okay to change your mind. And that's something that I have had to struggle with because a lot of people, like I said, might remember who Shay, Sharonda, whatever you want to call me. Well, my family calls me Sharonda, but everyone else calls me Shay. And they know, who they knew before I left. Now, it's one thing to have an idea of somebody evolving and someone changing, but it's a totally different thing to see it for yourself. Um, Also, it's a totally different thing versus a phone call or a video chat or whatever versus having someone there and standing in their boundary. You know what I mean? You're not as likely to step on a boundary as much as you would in person. At least that's what I've noticed, in my family dynamics. But ultimately, I just had to give myself permission to not chain myself to who people thought I was, who people thought that, I would be, who people remember me as. I am nothing like the person who I was 2 years ago. I have a lot of the same qualities. I mean, I was an amazing person, don't get me wrong. I was definitely amazing. But I'm so much better, so much more emotionally intelligent, so much more emotionally available. I've learned so much. I've healed so much. I've addressed so much. I've taken accountability for so much. I've forgiven so much. And so the hurt, bitter, um, pushover, people pleaser that people may remember me to be before I left, they're not gonna necessarily always understand. And I'm not saying my whole family. Please understand. I'm not saying my whole family. I'm talking about certain individuals, certain people who just, they're just used to what they're used to. They don't necessarily. I don't know if they really are like trying to keep that image of you, but they just don't have the exposure to enough exposure to the new you in order for them to truly, truly accept it. And so, like I said, it's okay for you to change. So let me segue into a couple of my points. Well, the main point is the past is the past. A lot of times we want ourselves to have this amazing, bright future, but we don't want to even be present. We're not even able to stay in the now enough to know that that's all we have. We don't have the future. The future is something we hope for. And I mean, during this time now of grieving and mourning, that's something that I have had to come to grips with. We don't have the future. We don't have time. We don't know. The past happened already, so we can't do anything to change it. We can address it if it's causing us issues in the current space, but we can't live in the past. And we can't allow others to make us feel like we have to. Yeah, you might have been ratchet when you was 20 or even 25. You might have been ratchet yesterday. But if today you woke up and you want to be a better person, you want to change, it's okay to change your mind. You really, and one thing that I've noticed, like you have to be careful with dealing with people who are not ready to see you evolve or change, or just not really embracing it, or maybe you tried to change before and you've regressed and you've you know backslid or whatever the term is, a few times, and so now they don't even believe you. And I mean, it's human nature to be like, oh, let's see how long this one lasts. I guess that's human nature, but it's kind of haterish, but whatever. Um, but you have to be careful when you're going around those people because they can sometimes discourage you to a point where you think maybe it isn't worth me trying. Maybe it isn't worth me trying to be better. This is all people see me as. This is all that I'm able to do. This is comfortable for me. Why am I making myself uncomfortable and people are not even accepting it anyway? They don't want to see me do good. You have to be extremely careful with that. And also, you don't want to let people like bring up stuff you used to do in order to justify them not trying to take you serious now. For instance, like, let's see. I'll think of an example. Say, for instance, you used to uh, smoke. You used to smoke, be a heavy smoker. And, you stepped away from people for a bit and you came back and you're like, okay, I don't smoke anymore. And you'll have people that you love dearly who are still smoking. They're still doing the exact same things that they were doing when you left. Or maybe they have their own journey, but in the grand scope of things, from what you can see on the surface, it looks like they're doing the exact same things that you, that you guys used to do together. But only this time you don't do those things. So now you say, I don't smoke. And they're like, you sure? You don't want to hit this one? You don't want to hit this? Temptation, temptation. And not only is it temptation, it's also a test on, your self control and your boundaries, of course, but just how strong you are really standing on what your new path is. Sometimes it's a test that's like lighthearted, like let's see, and sometimes it can be very sinister when people try to tempt you or taunt you with the old you. So please be very careful with that. And sometimes it's people that you can't just cut off. It could be a mother, it could be a father, it could be your cousin, someone who you're gonna have to see again eventually at some point, and you have to learn how to navigate the conflict of that without always being so quick to just cut it off. Although, baby, listen, I'm cut off queen. However, there are some people in your life that you're just going to have to deal with. If you have a problem with your mother, you're going to have to deal with your mother at some point. So you need to learn the conflict resolution skills in order to properly handle her. Like, you can't just cut. I mean, you can, and if it's that toxic, you should. But cutting people off should not be your only defense mechanism. You need to fortify yourself, get yourself, on point so that you can actually handle these situations, even if they're not people who you can just discard so easily. Um, Another point, the more information that you have exposure to and have access to, of course, your ideals in your mind will change. Yes, when you were 20, you probably were like, I don't see how, I don't see how these women be out here. This is just an example, guys. I don't see how these women be out here having babies with these men, blah, 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 and they don't even care about them. Now, mind you, that was fresh 20-year-old you. You hadn't really been through a lot. You hadn't been exposed to a lot of relationships, adult relationships. You hadn't been, for lack of a better word, around the block. You hadn't had exposure to different manipulation tactics, different coercion tactics. You had not been exposed to certain things. You probably may not have been completely in love before. You may not have been, in a situation that gave you the information that might have been helpful. So from the viewpoint that you were in, that looks crazy. Now fast forward to you're 24 now, 25, and you've experienced a little bit more things. You've fallen in love before, and you know how hard it can be to not find yourself in situations where you're compromising your fertility, and you might even wind up having an unplanned pregnancy, or you might even wind up planning a pregnancy. When you were 20, you couldn't see how any woman would ever do this, but now you're 25 and you've been through life, and now you can see, like, oh, I love him. I'm just using that as an example, but you can apply that to pretty much anything. Like, you can't hold yourself to the standard of who you were before you got more information. When you started working at your job, you might think, oh my God, this job is so hard, because you're just taking in so much information. So much is getting thrown at you. You don't know anything about the company. You don't know anything about their standard procedures. And then fast forward to 5 or 6 months, and you're like, oh, this is a breeze. And now you're training people. And then you're telling them, they're thinking it's so hard. And you're like, don't worry, it's not that hard. So you have to think about it. Like, you can't hold yourself to the standard of who and what you were before you got the information. If, pardon me. Oh, if, if you, I don't know, I'm trying to think of another good example. But ultimately, if you more information will lead to changed minds sometimes. And one thing I want to say is people who don't change their mind when they get more information, nothing wrong with that either. But a lot of times we have to address why that is. Like, are you just not changing your mind because you're stubborn? Or are you just not changing your mind because, hey, I said what I said, I'm standing on it, I still feel that way? There's a difference between being stubborn, unmovable, inflexible, unadaptable, or just really being firmly rooted in what you believe. It's a difference. But you need to ask yourself that and honestly answer it to yourself before you decide if am I gonna stand on what I said or does it have wiggle room? Yes, someone could say you should not kill anyone, no matter what. That makes a lot of sense. That sounds very good. That sounds, you know, like the right thing to do. However, if somebody's coming trying to harm and maim you, there might be a time where you might say, okay, accept. And those are how exceptions come. You should not kill anyone except in this situation. And I don't know if that's like the perfect example, but honestly, like, it's, I'm trying to be dramatic here just for effect. Yes, you might have a set value and standard, but there is always some more information that you might need in order to make the right decision for that moment. And you have to be okay with that. Um. Oh yeah, this one is a really good one. So this is something that I have noticed, especially as I told you, as I've started to grow more spiritually, get closer to God, leave behind a lot of the things that He's been convicting me to do. There's so many people, places, things, activities that don't even align with me anymore. They don't even appeal to me anymore. I go there and I don't feel the feeling that I felt anymore. And I think that we have to. I'm sorry, y'all. This hair is getting on my nerves. We have to figure out a way to know when a season is over and being okay with it. Like, for an example, I have a spot, I have a place that I've been going to since I moved here. I literally have been going to this place since I moved here, and this is like my Cheers. So you know, Cheers. The y'all might be too young. Y'all might be. I don't know. I don't know. My it is a little mixture. So some of the people might be young, but if you are, for context, Cheers was an old show, and it was a bar. And one of the things at the bar was basically like going here is like everybody knows your name. You come here every day after work. Those are your people. You go have a good time. Get get your dose of friendly, social, whatever, and you go home. It makes you feel good because people know your name. So when I've been here, this place has been my Cheers. You know, I go here. I was pretty regular there because I didn't have a lot of places that I liked. I really liked the vibe and the aesthetic and the energy there. And so I would go in. I would get great treatment. I'm getting ushered straight to the section. Um, people making uh, seats for me where there's no seats. People making sure I get service. Uh, just really great customer service because of the fact that, hey, we know who this is. This our girl. She spent money here. She's a regular. And the last few times I've been, I'm just like, I still get the same treatment. It's just not resonating with me anymore. And it's very disturbing and it sucks because it's like, dang, I thought I had me a spot like that's going to be here forever. Not here forever, but like this is going to be my place. Like, always been one of the main places I take people when they come to visit. I always have a good time. And I still will. But I can't be a regular there anymore. Like I can feel that my season and my time there has ended. And so I'll move on and branch out to other places and other social groups. Like now, one of my social groups is the poetry scene. I show up at the poetry open mics and people show me love. People know who I am. You know, we've built rapport via social media and also, you know, from our artistry. And that's resonating with me right now. It's more aligned with who I am. It's more aligned with my passions. It's more aligned with my creativity that I'm exploring now. And I'm embracing that. It's okay to change your mind. And that's no shade to the old place. It served its purpose. It has helped me to meet amazing people. One of my close friends here in Nashville is our first time meeting. We met up there, and we've been locked in ever since, literally. And so, I mean, I have a lot of good memories there. So many good memories there, and I actually still will go. Like they have a lot of good um, like live music and things like that. But I can just tell that it's time for me to start shifting myself, you know, to a different realm, and that's okay. Um, this is another thing. You cannot be afraid to distance yourself from people. You don't have to remove them from your life, but if they're causing, well, they're not honoring your boundaries, they're not honoring the changes that you're trying to make, then it might be time to kind of distance yourself from them while you get yourself strong, fortified. For an example, I've been talking about her all day. Shout out to Jay. But my friend, so last October and November for the most part, yeah. October, November, I just did like a whole detox, like where I wasn't drinking, I wasn't, you know, I was doing mocktails and things like that. And my friend was like, okay, you're not drinking. She's sending me recipes for mocktails. You know, she's supporting me. She's not trying to tempt me. She's not trying to say, "Are you sure you don't want to? You don't want to take this shot?" Like I set my goal, and she supported me in it. She didn't disappear when I said, "Oh, you're not drinking well, I'm going out for happy hour." No, you can come to happy hour. We're gonna get you some cute mocktails, and we gonna still have a good time. That is the type of people that I want in my circle. I don't want people that's like, and listen, we talking about changing my mind. I have absolutely in the past been that person who would be considered the temptress, trying to tempt people. Come on, just take it. Come on, you know, let's have fun. And in my growth and in my healing and in my, you know, my journey of my self awareness and my accountability, I am here to say that that is absolutely true. And someone might call that hypocrisy, but I don't call it hypocrisy. In my opinion, I think hypocrisy is more so when you're doing something still, like you're currently doing something, but you're judging other people for doing it, even though you do it and still do it. First of all, we're not supposed to be judging people. That's not our job. We aren't the judge. We aren't the juror. We're not. We're all falling short in some way. We all sin in some way. So we shouldn't be judging people anyway. But I don't think hypocrisy comes in into play just because, okay, if I was still doing something and I was like, oh, let me think of a good example. Say I'm a petty thief. I got kleptomania. I don't know. So random. And I just steal stuff just to be stealing it, picking up little stuff at the dollar store or whatever. But then I see, you know, I go to Walmart with my friend and they're stealing bigger stuff, but you know, it's hypocrisy. That's hypocrisy. You steal, but you're condemning them for stealing. Now, fast forward, I stopped stealing. I let that go. I move on from that, and I encourage my friends to not do that anymore. Tell them the ramifications, the things that can happen when you do that. You're putting your livelihood, your freedom, a lot of other things at risk for petty theft. It's not it's not hypocrisy because I've stopped, and I'm also trying to help you to do better. And I'm not judging you. I'm giving you the information to change your life. I hope that example makes sense? It makes sense to me. So look, it makes sense to me. But yeah, I don't know. I just want us to be okay with changing our mind, because if as we, especially those of us that are in our relationship with God, He's going to change us. He's going to change our heart. He's going to change our minds. He's going to change how we act. He's going to change us. So if you are hell bent, no pun intended, if you're hell bent on staying the same, then you have no real desire to get closer to God. Like, you might say you want to get closer to God, you might read your Bible, you might go to church, you might be performative, but if you really, really want to have a real relationship with Him, and when you begin to have that relationship, He is going to change so much in your life. You're going to look different. You're going to show up different. You're going to present differently. And so, ask yourself that. Because if you are really truly trying to, get your life together with God, but you want to do the same things that you were doing before you knew God, it doesn't make sense. And that's not me being judged. That's not me being judgy. That's just the simple facts. That's just like how we always talk about marriage. It's like, you want to get married, but you want to still act single. That's crazy, right? That's not judging. That's just, honestly, like, you're married now. You have to conduct yourself in a certain way. You have to consider your partner. You have to make decisions together. You have to collaborate. You're not independent, single you anymore. So that's the same thing with us and God. When we get close to God and we marry Him in His ways and His works and His, you know, heart, we're not single anymore. We can't have the ways of the world, and, you know, we got to pick a struggle. It's okay to change. Change is good. Change is necessary. Change is betterment. And if you want to stay on the same level, then that's fine. But if you want to level up, then of course you're going to have to change your strategy, change your outlook, change your life. I hope this was helpful. I hope this wasn't all over the place, guys. If it was, still, you can talk about me bad in the comments. I don't care, but I know what I'm trying to say, and I'm trying to get it out the way that it's supposed to come out for me, okay? I hope you guys have a good day. Love you so much. Thank you so much for all your support as we close up 2022. We're almost there, and I'm just like, wow. I've been doing my podcast for about a year and a half or so, and it's just been getting so much support. I haven't really been on YouTube for the whole time, but just a lot of support. I'm so thankful for you guys, and I'm excited to see where this goes, how it evolves, how it changes. And yeah, you all have a good one. I will talk to you later. See you on the next episode. Bye.